Good evening and welcome to a special edition of To The Point. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without actually fighting. Over the past years, we've heard of a lot of different generations of war. This evening on To The Point, we'll be shedding light onto how do those generations differ, how have they evolved, and maybe more importantly, how can we really protect ourselves against this form of war? With us this evening on To The Point is Major General Dr. Nasr Salem, advisor and strategic expert at Nasr Military Academy. A pleasure to have you with us. أهلا بيك يا فندم معالي اللواء. شرفتنا في برنامج الصميم. الحقيقة إحنا يعني وفقا لدراسات كتير
According to many studies and analysis, the armaments lately have differed according to strategies, and over the past 100 years it was a huge development in armaments and different generations of wars. And during the past years, we have heard about this term a lot, and the development is really speedy. Where are we, and what's the difference between the different generations? There are different definitions due to from one country to another, from a perception to another. But generally, it started with the non-fire armaments, different preliminary armaments, then fire armaments, then destructive armaments, as we have seen, nuclear weapons that can destruct the whole city. Humanity developed the art of killing, and they kept on thinking in easier ways to kill. How can you kill people in a cheap way? How can they kill? So the third generation and the fourth generation have appeared. Here, maybe not many people talked about the Cold War. This is one generation of wars before the fourth generation of wars. So the Cold War was before the fourth generation of wars. It includes economy, moral, education, and so many aspects, so that I decrease the abilities and capabilities of a state without using armaments and weapons. Fourth generation warfare is about how to make your enemy kill himself. Kill himself by himself in a process of phases. And there is one point, a shared point here is the war of information. Aviation war, armored war, killing through fire shooting, killing through basic weapons. But here I make the information the killer. This is different. A missile here, I make it in the form of information to bombard information that destruct everything. So, speaking about decision making, it's based upon information. So, as the example of hot water, if it hits me, then I just feel it, that it's very hot, and I need to get back and set back. It's my will to get away from it. I felt it and I got away from it. Here's another example. If I tell someone that his car was destructed, he will just go run away to see what's going on, even if the information is wrong. So, starting from the 4th generation of war, we are speaking here about the change of the ethics of people and to turn it to a loser country. It's just whatever you do, no matter how much you try to fill it with good achievements, it never works. So, when the Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, assumed the ruler of Egypt, for example, they made people consume resources of the state. In the traffic, they try to make problems. This consumes the resources of the state. Also, they try to destruct education, so they turn it to a losing country. It just fails gradually. The state cannot provide job opportunities, therefore no income. So here comes the internal war. So it kills itself by itself. Violence and revolutions, people who revolt, like what happened in 2011. So let's talk here about the Arab Spring. Could you please tell me about it in this light? From the very beginning, they wanted to rend asunder the Arab countries. So they studied and analyzed the ethnic aspect in the Arab countries. So they made conflicts based upon ethnicity, geographic ethnicity, like between people of Alexandria or Upper Egypt, different dialects. These are all different aspects that can result in revolutions. So I just accuse you of being a disbeliever and you accuse me in return. This makes conflict. So here they brought a religious group that wanted to assume the rule of Egypt. And when they find there is a need of sugar or some insufficiency of oil or other products, so they use it negatively. Before this happened in 2011, the democracy was at its highest as President Mubarak said, just let them write. Let them write. Let them say what they want. So, if we speak here about people, if they don't speak or they don't describe what they want, here you give the hope to the leaders of the Arab countries that they will stay forever. President Ali Saleh, Al-Assad, Al-Qaddafi, President Mubarak, and so many, they gave them the hope that they will stay forever. Just on the basis of good relations with the external countries and on the international level. And then they have their calibers and they teach them how to make a revolution internally and how to face the mechanisms that the leader have to make the state stable. No, we are speaking about the German spies that worked on psychological wars. They worked on the morale in the state. So, in the modern language, there are different generations of wars. How it speaks about how to make it self-bombard. If we have enemies, did they fire, shoot anything in any of the countries that had the Arab Spring? No. People went down to streets and they revolted. If we see the example of Iraq and Libya, there is a shared aspect. In Iraq, when the revolution started, it wasn't an easy one. It wasn't a normal revolution. But no, the facilities, they started to rob everything in the public and the internal and the private sectors, saying that there is extra use of power. No. The aviation, the control of aviation here was made through 4 phases that were not relevant. No, they destructed the aviation and the infrastructure of the state. Any facilities, bridges, factories, electric stations, they made it back to square zero. And then they destructed the army through aviation. Then they turned to the destruction of main weapons, and then they cancelled the army. So the people just took control of the weapons. Each one who has a weapon wanted to create a state. In Iraq, the Sunni, Shia, Kurds, Yazidis, they made them all fight. The same scenario happened in Libya. So they controlled the aviation in Libya and then destructed the infrastructure and cancelled the army. And then the same scenario happened again, and until now we cannot set Libya free. Just a party wants to have an Islamic state, another wants another state in Barca, for example. Another examples in Syria and Yemen. The army was divided. 2 armies facing each other. Each army is facing the people. They're Each army is supported by different countries. In these countries, they have 5 or 6 million of displaced and refugees, injuries, and different catastrophes in Syria and in Yemen. In Egypt, it is protected by God. People and the army was not divided, so Egypt didn't fall internally. They set the church on fire, but the Christians said we will pray in mosques, and they were welcomed by Muslims. This was from the traditions and the cultures of the Egyptian nation. Let's talk about the period after 1973, when the petroleum was banned. So Kissinger wanted to occupy Saudi Arabia and take the petroleum, but no. Saudi Arabia said we will set petroleum on fire and we will get back to the desert. And then they said we will change their lifestyle. Changing even pharmaceuticals. We will make them seek medical assistance abroad and not in their countries. And they just fought all the traditional medicines. They wanted the people of this region to eat the foreign food and to stay in air conditions. So now, when there is an electricity outage, they cannot stand it. So, speaking about airports, for example, it costs a lot. So 90%, our countries are 90% dependent on foreign countries. We export nothing and import weapons and medicine and different things. Instead of teaching our children Islamic wars, never, no. They made us not to speak about the companions or Khalid ibn al-Walid or different Islamic figures. No, they made us speak about Ataturk or American and European figures. If you make this bond with America and Europe, why would they fight it? In Iraq, Baghdad surrendered because of the psychological war that Al Jazeera waged on Iraq. It just rends, this war rends asunder the community. In the setback of 1967, there was no leader, but the people took their place and led everything happening. But now they don't want the armed forces instead. All these aspects make the state really weak, and the people fight internally and fight the army. Let's speak about the renaissance that is happening now. How can we face such wars, especially through the speed and the development of these wars. Mostly 70 to 75% of our people are youth, and they are affected by external information. My son, for example, doesn't ask me. He uses his iPhone, his cell phone. How can we face this? Awareness. Awareness. If there is a lack of awareness, you can give any sort of information, and then based upon it, there will be wrong decisions. If my son lacks awareness, there will be another party that gives him fake information against the country. From the very beginning, if I work on my son's awareness, then I will not let anybody else do it. For example, let's speak about the cartoon. There are things that are really crucial and really effective, even cause all kinds of butter. This plays a different role in awareness. It's just the advertisements is just as your neighbor who smells something really good coming out from your house, so she comes asking for what you're cooking. They get on cars that they see on the TV. So they start on dreaming of other things, and so instead of selflessness and giving, it's just envy. There is a program on TV called How to Envy. What are we teaching people? If we face this and if we say it can't be, they will tell you there is extra censorship. No, we are building a country. How can we let the awareness of our sons and daughters just be in the hands of anyone? No. These people, our neighbors, sisters and brothers that we should defend. I will tell you about what and how they think. How did they brainwash these extremists in Sinai? They taught them different aspects and how to just accuse people of being disbelievers. They just no, and then they tell him you cannot teach good things to your parents. No, they will tell him it's too late to teach them about the belief and the right belief. No, kill them. It's too late to teach them anything. They're talking about freedom. If I take any of these parties' sons and just brainwash them this way and put this poison in coated by chocolate and give it to one of their sons. Why would it give it to my son if you don't give it to yours? This is illusion. They talk about accusing lesbians and gays, and they talk about this as being against humanity. Every country has its belief, its religion, its ethics, and we cannot accept that anybody can change it. If I accept and respect your freedom in your country, respect mine in my country. We would like to raise our children in a certain way, and you raise your children in your own way. According to ethics, you cannot tell me what to do in my country. If you have such control, you can let kids kill their parents. What is the role of media? We talked about the fake picture. Ministry of Culture has a very important role here. Censorship of materials. Talking about Ramadan drama, it's the peak of drama and series. We all watch TV in Ramadan. What are the messages that we give to our children through drama? For every action, there is a reaction in the same strength. People in Ramadan connect and read Quran and take iftar in different houses and at neighbors' houses. And then if you look at the community in the church, it's really magnificent. They marry in this community, they make friends in this community. You put instead of these different ethics. Just for example, leave Ramadan for these beautiful ethics, and you have the whole year to produce a different material. This is the war I'm talking about. So, the Ministry of Culture should monitor and face anything that goes against our beliefs and our religion. No, you cannot take these examples of the things that go against religion and that make our children hate each other. So, media shall give me the right information and not the wrong imposed information. There are some things that are censored on the social media. Trump, for example, said that he just will not be infected with coronavirus, but Twitter didn't let him spread this and didn't approve the post. Why would you give yourself the right to protect your country and not give me the same right to protect my daughter or my wife? You just distort the community for different ethics that come from abroad. Growing up as a child, how did I get my belief? How did I learn to be loyal? They were speaking about agriculture and going and cultivating desert, and then they went on singing for desert. So as a kid, I grew up, I wanted to grow up and go to cultivate the country and to learn about agriculture. If we speak about Jul Gamal and Galal the Su'i, Jul Gamal, the Syrian officer who fought with us in 1956, and the different songs that made us want to defend our country. Not to occupy any other land, but to defend my country. So we wanted to just imitate what we listened to. The role of the media here is to lead the masses to right practices. They make us just not to throw garbage in the streets, and to support other ethics, to make education better and to face private lessons. They had Effendi and Bey and different things to call each other. How did this culture change? And what is the role played by the Ministry of Culture? Is it accepted in an Arab country that speaks the Arabic language to find all the names of all the markets and all the shops in English? Why do you write slow? Can a driver, a simple driver, understand slow? Just write it in Arabic. Even if he understands the language, it will be an educated person. Why do you write in English? The directions, why do you write in English? It's kind of invasion, yes. The invasion that imposed different cultures, external cultures, that makes countries lose. There are countries where people live together with a different culture without marriage. Is this applicable here? No. This is different. If a couple does this here, they will be asked legally. So don't introduce different cultures that are strange to the community. Why do you push us to make a replica of other different communities? Why don't we defend our ethics? If they want to defeat us, we have to go back to 1967, where the cities of Canal, their people came and lived with us. If we were with such ethics like now, we wouldn't have welcomed them. But now, by then, we ate together. We gave our guests the best we have because we had ethics. On the contrary of the new ethics, where you don't feed your neighbor, you don't help the needy. If I say to someone that we fear the new wars, these wars work by technology. We are all dependent on technology, unfortunately. Some people filter information, and others are affected by any kind of information. Is there an entity that controls this? Is there an entity or a state that manages this scene? The media. If all media, all kinds of media is available, there should be censorship. Especially talking about IT and information wars, the fifth generation warfare. They destruct banks, facilities, and the nuclear reactor in Iran. They worked on the cooling system and they distorted it so it exploded. These wars want to take control of the awareness. They work on it through social media. The conflicts they raise even from football games. Even football games raise conflicts. There are now cases, the judicial cases because of football games. Now, what we live now, we saw some of it in series and movies, and we thought it would be illusion. It started to happen now. So they say they would implant chips under our skin. Will they control us and turn us into robots? Will they control us fully through AI and robotics? Through what we see now? It all started with illusion. The airplane, the missiles, going to Mars was illusion, and now it happened. So humans invented AI. Why don't humans do good things too? If there is an agenda or a strategy, a long-term strategy for this region to make and to split it up to weak, small countries. If we don't face it, we do not deserve to be a strong country. If for every weapon there is a development that faces it. Same concerning robots. If he invents something to defeat me, I can face him. I can develop something else. We are speaking about jamming on the other armies that make me control armies in wars. In the War of 1973, the Americans helped the Israelis through a missile that works through radar, that works through So we turned off radars, so the missiles fell off. Just if for every weapon they created, we had a defense. The same applies to the status quo. If we care about our country, the strong always stays. We should work smarter. Today they work through laser. They make missiles and airplanes fall by laser. We should defend ourselves through AI, for example. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, why does he establish so many universities? This is to reach applied sciences, to defeat the enemies, and to gain immunity against such wars. We should work against these wars. There are so many modern things, nuclear reactors that are defeated through even kids. Why don't we do the same? We can use the electric current in the right way, or I can kill people through it. I am the one who made it, and God made us and created us to use this earth in a good way. We have to educate ourselves and know more to cope with others, to just not to be left behind. We can't be left behind. If we are left behind, we are just defeated, simply. We should cope with it in a very speedy way. Thank you so much for this valuable information. We would like to have you again.
A very pleasant evening. This was a special edition of To The Point. We'll see you same time next week. Until then, good night.